Alright, so in this video, we're going to start talking about the difference between a function and a relation. So let's go ahead and, define some of these pieces. So a relation is a set of ordered pairs. And we talked about ordered pairs in the last one. Remember, they're called ordered pairs because they're in order, right? So each ordered pair has a first component and a second component. The set of first components is the domain. It's just another name for them of the relationship, which is also called the input if we're looking at an equation and we're inputting the numbers. Input, or the x-coordinates. That's another very easy way to refer to them, right? So that's the first component. The second component is the range of the relation, which we can also call the output. So this is the answer. When we have an equation and we put a value in for x, and we figure out what that side equals, that's going to be our output, or it's our y values, our y coordinates. So this is a relation. We just have an ordered pair. There really isn't any true relationship necessarily between the points. They can kind of be somewhat random, but they definitely are in an ordered pair. So those two parts, the x and the y, when we look at a coordinate like this, have some kind of relationship to each other. But if I get more pairs, it doesn't necessarily mean they have a relationship. If I have a function, that's a special type of relationship. In a function, no two ordered pairs have the same first component or x coordinates. So we can remember the function machine from lesson 1.5. So we had a little kind of funky function machine. Oh, actually I had little outputs like this. Inputs and outputs, and it had a little section in the middle. So we input something and we get something output. So with a function machine, if I input a number and I get one out, say if I input 2 and I get 3 out, because there's some kind of equation happening in here, if I put 2 in again and then I got 4, well, something's wrong with my machine. That's not working correctly, right? If I put 2 in again, I should get 3 each time. I shouldn't be getting a different number. So that's one way to kind of tell, is it a function or is it a relation? But if I put in a different number and I get 3, this is still allowed. This is okay, because there may be something happening where we can even think of like baking a cake. I can actually get, say, a chocolate cake in different ways. So putting different ingredients in doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get something completely different back out. So I know that cake is kind of a silly a reference to it, but it's just something like that. So the main thing is, if I input a number, I should get the same number back out each time for that input. So we don't want to see this input being repeated. Okay, that's our big thing. So when we look down here, and we're going to ask the question for each situation, are the domain, which is the x values, being repeated? If yes, then it is not a function. If no, then it is a function. So that's literally the only question we need to ask in this situation. Are the x values being repeated? So here we see the domain. So I'm going to focus over here. I have pen, tree, rock, desk, chair. Nothing is being repeated in the domain. So this is a function. And I know this causes some confusion for students because they look over here at the range and they go, well, pen is unique. It goes to 9, but then the other 4 all go to 1, so it is being repeated. The range is allowed to be repeated. The range can be used more than once. It's the domain that we're worried about. And we're going to see a visual of this on the next video so that you can actually see what's happening. And I can kind of show you. If I look at a coordinate grid, and what I'm doing is I'm looking to make sure that I don't have points that are right above and below each other. They're not being repeated because the domain is my x value. So if I had the exact same x value, let's say that that's 3, well then this is 3 to the left, this is 3 to the left. So that means that it was repeated. So that's all I'm looking at on a coordinate grid, and we're going to practice that a whole lot more on the next video. That was just a very quick kind of visual to show you. So now let's look at the domain of these ones. So I have 9, 1, 1, 8, 0. So 1 is being used twice. I put 1 into my machine here, and I got 8. And then I put 1 in again, and I got -5. So my machine is broken. Something's wrong here. This is not working, so this is not a function. All right. So now I can't just circle these ones as easy because it's not in a mapping. It's in a coordinate ordered pair, sorry. So now I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to point at them. I have H, X, D, and Y. I'm not even looking at the range. I'm kind of ignoring these ones. Okay? You don't have to cross them off, but we're only looking at that first value. So H, X, D, Y. Nothing is repeated, so it is a function. All right, this one I have 8, -8, -7, and 9. So 8 and -8, those are not repeated. One is positive, one is negative, so they are all different. So this is a function. All right, so that is functions from identifying functions from relations. So go ahead and go on Alex and give that a try.